So when you look up the word pilot in the dictionary, you get two definitions. The first one is a person who operates the flying controls of an aircraft, so an airline pilot. And the second is a TV program made to test audience reaction with a view to the production of the show. So the fancy way of saying the first episode of something. Hey guys, my name is Ellie, and I am here to talk to you about life. So my life has changed a lot in the last few months. I graduated high school, if you can see by my lovely graduation cap here, but it's pretty tassel. I went to new student enrollment for my college this fall, where I got my really delightful ID picture, as well as my class schedule, which should be interesting. I also got my first ever smartphone, which is what I am using to record at the moment, or I would show it to you. This was my first phone ever. I got it, freshman year of high school, I think. It had, it still has, it's just off. Has a touch screen, and then it also slid. I'll slide it the right way. So it was pretty much just the epitome of technology around here, was this sliding touchscreen. And I did have another one after this. They're pretty much indestructible. This one doesn't have a back anymore. Not quite sure where it went, but it's somewhere. But they were pretty much indestructible. So that is one thing that really worries me about the whole smartphone thing, is that I can't just drop it and it'll be fine. Like, it's considerably more expensive than the phones I've had in the past, so breaking it is really not good. It has, like, the super protective life-proof case and extra heavy screen protector and all that kind of stuff to help an incredibly clumsy person like me maybe not destroy it in the first few months. So some of the things I wanted to talk to you about today were my firsts. So we've already discussed my first ever smartphone, which I'm looking at right now. It's purple. It's great. The first time I ever drove a car. So the first time I drove a car on my own, when I learned to drive, it wasn't in driver's ed. I knew how to drive with my permit before that. So we used an old car that belonged to my grandparents at one point, and then they sold it to us when they didn't need it anymore. So it was just a normal everyday car. Like, there wasn't any sort of brake on the passenger side or anything like that. So I scared my mom a little bit. But I learned to drive in parking lots, and then I moved out onto the actual street. So the first time I was on an actual road with other cars and human beings was on my way home, actually. We had been practicing parking, I think, in an elementary school parking lot. And we were only about 3 minutes from home at the time. So my mom was like, just go ahead and drive us home. What could possibly go wrong? I almost missed a stop sign and hit one of my classmates, but it's fine. I missed him. I stopped. I just gave us both a heart attack and a funny story for class the next day. Fortunately, my driving has gotten significantly better since then. I hope. I would like to think it's gotten better. Next, we have my first car. So she is not actually my car. She does belong to my family, so she will stay here when I go off to college in the fall. Her name is Margie, which is why I'm calling her a she. She's Miss Marjorie, so she's my old lady. She is I think 2003 Hyundai Elantra, so a small black car, which makes it really fun to try to find it in parking lots. I wander around a lot. I forget where I park, too, and then I'm just, wandering around the parking lot. Don't know where the car went. It's there somewhere, it's all fine. So she is, I just cleaned her the other day, too, so she's all nice and ready for summer. So one of my favorite things about driving, about cars in general, as weird as it sounds, is windshield wipers. When I was a freshman in high school, my older sister was a junior. She's away at college now. But whenever we went to school, because she would drive me to school, if it rained, I would get to work the windshield wipers. And I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. I loved the windshield wipers. I don't know why. I don't like being outside in the rain, because then, my hair frizzes and my shoes are wet, and it's not fun. but I do like observing the rain through a window or working the windshield wipers while driving and things like that. My first job. So the first real job I had, not counting like babysitting or dog sitting for the neighbors, was at a campground about half an hour away from my house. So it was a very fun drive. But I made pizzas and then would deliver them around the campground because they had this like off-brand Pizza Hut kind of thing in their office. So I would be in charge of making pizza. Like somebody would call in the order, they would come down to the office, and I would make it for them and then drive the little golf cart up to their camper to deliver it. And so that was always a party. It was a very hot oven. It was one of those like industrial sort of roll through things. So it had like the conveyor belt through, and you put it on one end, it would like roll through the oven to the other. And I did end up burning myself several times. The worst one was when actually didn't have to do with the pizza at all. I went to get the warmer bag because it was sitting on top to keep it warm. I reached up to get it and I hit the edge of the oven directly on my forearm. So I had this like scarred imprint of the corner of the oven on my forearm for like 2 years. It was bad. I did get really good tips that night though, because I wound up with like gauze all over my forearm because it stings a little. Life lesson: don't burn yourself on an oven, folks. It's not fun. And lastly, the last first for this video is my first ever dog. So this is him in the background, if you guys weren't sure. Woo! This is him. His name is Charlie. He's a purebred Shih Tzu. And he was originally bred by a woman who bred show dogs for a living. So she would breed them and then take them to shows. That was a really terrible explanation. But Charlie, who was ours, was born with an underbite. So he had his bottom jaw and then his top, but his top teeth were behind instead of in front like they should be. They were back here. And so he couldn't open his mouth very wide. So he had this really bad underbite, which would not have scored very well with shows. He wouldn't have ever won anything. So she went ahead and adopted him out, and he came to us. So he ate little pieces of kibble, and he really never barked very much, which was spectacular, because we live in the middle of a neighborhood, still do. And he would really only ever bark when, like, the mailman came to the door, or really when anyone came to the door. That was about it, to be honest. But up here behind me is his first ever toy. I think it's, 11 years old now? 12? We got him when I was either 5 or 6. I think I was 5. And then he was with us until shortly before my 16th birthday. So we had him for about 10 years. So even though I am sort of in this weird in-between kind of time, like, I'm 18, so I should be an adult, except this is the state of Nebraska where you have to be 19, so don't know what that's all about. Like, I was an adult in the wizarding world last year, so I don't know what you're doing, Nebraska, but catch up a little. But I've graduated high school, so I've left a huge chunk of my life behind. I will be moving in the fall to a place that I've never been. I've been there, I haven't lived there, okay? But I've always lived within the same, 15-mile radius here. I've gone to the school in the same school district since kindergarten. I've gone to class with the same people. I mean, granted, I graduated with 420 and I didn't know them all, but you get the gist, you know. And then, again, in the fall, I'm leaving, I'm moving out, I'm becoming an adult. Or so they tell me. I mean, I'm trying, if that counts. So not only do I get to share my life with you, maybe bring some relatable problems, I mean, not solutions, I'm really bad with solutions, but, relatable problems. But before we get there, we have a whole summer of adventure ahead of us. I have a lot of traveling planned for this summer, which I cannot wait to share with you guys. I will be leaving the country for the first time in my life. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so good. So here's to the future, everyone. One day and pilot at a time. See you next time.